Ninox.
So, hi and hello everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar. And very happy to have Frank today here. I think every quarter this is the meeting I'm most curious about with the upcoming release because there are a lot of things coming always for every release. And I think especially for this release or this webinar in my approximately 2 years with Ninox. I think this is kind of like one of the biggest releases or biggest changes with Ninox uh, to get a little bit of pressure on Frank regarding this webinar. I think we have very curious topics with the designs, um, new colors, new logos, new icons. Um, and I think now also most of the participants into this webinar. So Frank, I'm very happy to have you here and will hand over to you. If there are any questions, maybe as a first thing, you can just ask them in the F&A or in English Q&A section, and then we'll answer them at the end of the webinar. And with this, Frank, over to you.
Thank you very much, Tim. Flattered to be here. And yeah, thanks for everybody joining. I think this is one of the biggest crowds we had so far in the release webinars. Am I right, Tim? Or?
Absolutely. So approximately 150 participants, and it's growing and growing. So let's see where we will be at the end.
Okay, cool. Yeah, then let's just dive into things as Tim has promised. So we do have something in the back this time with our summer release of Ninox, the third release already this year. And it's the release number 313. I think this will mean a lot of luck with the release, hopefully. And as usual, I brought some slides or very quick presentation, and then we will directly dive into what's on the table here. So let me just bring this up to the screen. So this is our release preview webinar. The actual release date will be most likely the 21st of August. So we are currently in the QA phase and trying to brush out all the rough edges. Also talking directly with some partners and customers and giving them already the features for testing purposes. So August 21 is the planned release date for all of our products. So the native apps, the web app, the private cloud product, and the on-prem product. And yeah, just a quick overview of what's here included in the release 313. So there's one very visual change. So I think you will immediately perceive when the new version is out and you have access to it. It's about the navigation system, so generally how you can navigate through the product, and visually much more also about theming and a new feature which will give you the option to adapt Ninox really to your own corporate identity, to select the main color, for example, to make Ninox and your solutions really yours. This is accompanied with some changes we did already in the previous release. As you know, we have introduced a new icon system, a new color system. And this comes now with some improvements. So you will be able to not only select custom colors and custom icons, but you will be also able to store them as favorites so that you can reuse colors, for example, across all your solutions in the workspace. You will be able to export and import those style definitions. And you will also be able to give buttons much more custom appearance to make them stick out. Yeah, so that's also something I will present in the demo. Then we worked on editing rich text, so formatted text with the rich text field. There's a whole new implementation of the rich text editor. I think something you guys asked for a long time for. Now we finally heard your wishes, and we brought a completely new rich text editor with all the options you would expect from such a component. We also have some enhancements more concerning very advanced builders and partners of Ninox. So the first one is about modularity. As you know, we are already having features to create more modular solutions based on or comprised of different databases in one workspace. But the question was, of course, once I have installed a module, maybe one of the standard modules that Ninox brings, like the CRM solutions, how can I get the latest version? And that's something we worked on. So modules will be going forward updatable, even if you do customizations of modules. Yeah, so think about maybe our CRM solutions. If you have installed CRM modules in your workspace and you added maybe some additional tables, additional fields, or changed the layout, you still will be able to obtain the latest version from Ninox and incorporate those changes into your existing and deployed solution. So this is really big, but I won't be able to show it today in the demo. I think we will do a separate deep dive into this topic. The same is true for the next point, which is really targeted towards very advanced Ninox builders. So if you work maybe with a team of multiple developers on one solution, at one point you might have the desire to have a version management system to manage kind of the development of your solution. You want to merge changes from different developers. And this is all possible for pro code developers, yeah, for people who work with normal programming languages. But in the Ninox ecosystem, it was not yet established. So what we did is we basically found a bridge between the no-code and low-code world of Linux towards the development ecosystem. And this bridge is established with a new tool, the Ninox CLI tool, which basically gives you the option to download the entire configuration of a database into your local file system and then store it, for example, in a software version management or work on it with a development environment, and later upload it again to the same or even to another workspace. So this is a very professional tool for advanced builders. And also this topic will be handled in a different webinar. I won't show it today. And finally, we did some improvements around our scripting capabilities. The first one was very much asked for those people who work with our dynamic print layouts. That means print layouts based on Microsoft Word templates, for example. You will be able to create PDF documents out of those templates, not only from the user interface, but going forward, also in server-side scripts and API calls. Yeah, so mass automation of document generation, also with Word documents or Word templates, will now be supported. Then we added a couple of functions to handle files. So you will be able to rename files from a script. You will be able to remove files from a script. And we added some dynamic scripting capabilities. So, for example, getting and setting the value of a field, even if you don't know the actual data model. So if you only have a field name, that will be possible with the new get and set functions. This is targeted towards a little bit more exotic use cases, but you will know it if you need it. And I will show it in the demo right after this slide. So let's dive into the demo. So this is what you know, release 3.12, for example. And this is the shiny new design of release 3.13. You immediately recognize we have a new top bar. It comes with the standard Ninox blue here, but much sharper contrast, for example. We worked on the menu options, so you see much more modern menus. It's also much more structured now into different categories. For example, if you want to get access to our documentation or to the community forum, it's in a different section now. Your user profile is separated out. So better discoverability. I think much nicer pop-up menus here on the bar. Also something new, you see here our logo. Before that, there was no logo. Now there's a logo. And you will be able to upload your own logo. Yeah, let me just dive into the new workspace settings. So this top section, you can change your name. You can assign a background color. But let's get back to standard here. And you can upload your logo. I just picked this random logo from the internet. And I guess you guys have a much better logo to upload here. Let me just reset that. And not only that, but you can also customize your color. Yeah, so you can pick either from our preset colors here from the color palette. And just let me show how it dynamically adapts. You can even use white. Let's see how this works out. Or maybe some light orange. You also can see that not only the color adjusts, but also the color of the icons, and so ensures that things are always readable. So I go back to something darker, and it's white again. And of course, you can really choose your own color using, for example, the system color picker. Just use the needle to pick something. Let's maybe go back to some Ninox blue. Or you can, if you know it, just enter the hex value of the color. Yeah, so this is also very easy. And now let's go to my favorite red here and save it. So this is the new customization of the workspace. Let's create a new database and see how this blends in. So here we are in our demo database. And you see also the database section completely adjusts to my reddish color here. So the top bar is in the color I selected. Then we have some adjusted color. Also the side panel adjusts very nicely. Let me just change that back, maybe to standard blue, or let's play around with it. Maybe we use something very exotic like pink. Yeah, so I think it really looks nice, and take care of the side panel. Yeah, so everything adapts very smoothly. So it really looks nice in almost any color you select here. You can even go with black, and it will work. So if you're more like the black person, then this will work. If you choose this, everything looks nice. And again, of course, your logo will blend in here just to illustrate that. So this gives you complete customization of the visual appearance and adaptation to your own CI. I think that's a very important step and can make your solution really stick out. Okay, so let's now talk about a little bit more about colors. So as you know, we also have a color field, for example. And everything here uses the same kind of system to manage colors. For example, I can say I want to have my own real red value. Yeah, so pure red, and I want to reuse it in many situations. So I can just add this to my presets. You see, it will be here. Not only that, I can also get rid of the colors Ninox provides here as a standard palette, and just reduce it to the colors I would like to use across my solution. Yeah, so this is a very powerful feature because it makes sure that you can create consistent layouts across your whole workspace. And when I now go here, for example, to the settings, I hope this works. Yes, it does. You see, it's using the same palette. And I can import a palette or I can export that. Yeah, so all the style definitions basically are stored in a file, and I can export and import it to reuse it across workspaces. Okay, this does not only extend to colors, but also to icons. Let me, Zoom is constantly getting here in my way. So let me add an icon field. So as you know, we have this wonderful large selection of icons now available in Ninox. So let's say I want to use the star icon in many situations. It's really some of the icons I use very often. And now I will be also able to just add it to my favorites, yeah, so that I don't have to search through this whole multiple thousand icons option list, but rather reuse my favorites. Yeah, so very nice addition, I think, and very useful when you're spending lots of time in building solutions with Linux. And also here, of course, the colors, again, same system. Which brings me now to a new rich text editor. So as you know, we do have a field here in Linux for a long time. It's called the rich text field. And it gave you a very basic option to enter formatted text or to copy formatted text from other sources, from the internet, from Microsoft Word, and so on. So this rich text field has been completely overhauled. Let me just enter something here. And let me enter something. You've seen there was a small glitch, but we're still in QA. So this is my new rich text editor. For those who use this very often, you would immediately recognize it's now working inline. Yeah, so you no longer get this large pop-up, but you can work directly inline in the text field, which makes it much more easy to use. But consider situations where, since Linux is so flexible, where this field is really small. Yeah, so for example, if I configure it in this way, let me just add a line break here also. So if I set it up in a very small situation, obviously all the controls would not blend in. We also thought about this case, and in that situation, you will still get the full screen experience and have access to your rich text editor. So what can we do here? First of course, all the heading styles can be selected, or paragraph. I can change the font face. I can make it bold, underline, strike through, italic. All the styles, common styles are available. I can change the color. I think this is also something we still work on, that it reuses the same color palette here. So small caveat, you see it's the standard palette, not my customized, but this will be fixed. So this is the background color. You can change the font color, of course. You can use multiple alignment options, indent, outdent, lists, unordered lists, ordered lists, and so on. So all the standard options are available. You can also enter a link, like a link to our website, for example. And as you are used from many other tools, you can differentiate between the actual link and the display text, of course. Yeah, so if I highlight that, I can go to ninox.com. This is the new rich text editor. It also has a lot of optimizations behind the scenes when it comes, for example, to copy pasting styles or formatted text from other sources. This is much more consistent than the original behavior of this component. When you would generate documents containing rich text, so when you print a PDF from data, rich text data, we closely match the style of what you see here on the screen with what you get then in the resulting document. And many tiny optimizations behind the scenes, which are maybe not visible on first sight, but which are really useful. So this was the rich text editor. Let me save my changes and now come to something different about the new functions. just call this table new functions to play around with it. And the first one I want to display is renaming of files. Yeah, so as you know, I can have a image field and I can upload, for example, this file. So now let's consider a use case where you want to rename that file automatically. Yeah, of course, a user can always go here to this menu and rename it manually. Let's say just alt name.png. So now I will use a button to display renaming of files with a script. In order to do that, we have the new function rename file. It takes a record and the value of a file field and a new name. Oh, maybe it's
There's a typo
just
in the
this.
function, Frank. It's you need to rename and
Oh
not
yeah,
renamer.
yeah. Okay, and I was also wrong about the syntax. So it's called rename file, and then we just take the value of a field that contains a file, like my image field, and we give it a new name. But there's one important thing to remember or to understand that's concerning the architecture of Linux. So my image field basically contains only the name of the file. The actual file is stored as an attachment. So if I would do that, I would not change the content of my image field, but just give the attachment a new name, and my image field would no longer have the reference to that file. That's why I need to use the function in this syntax. So I will rename it and assign the new name to my image field in one operation, basically. So let's try that out. As you see, nothing happened, but you see here my file has a new name. I can also use the function remove file to actually get rid of a file. Yeah, so let's create a new button here, and let me just give this the label rename and let's give this the label remove. And here we use the function remove file image. And afterwards, I should set my image to empty, to null, in order to make sure that it does not have this dangling reference to a file which no longer exists. Let's try this out. Boom, there you go. My image has vanished, and I need to upload it again. Rename, cool, remove, done. Okay, so since we are using buttons here in this example, now let's switch back to styling because I forgot to show you guys that part. So you know that we have some presets here for buttons, but I can also use my style options to, oops, Teams go away, Zoom go away. Use my style options here to make the button much more custom. Yeah, so for example, I can use a gradient and find a gradient basically for the button background. Yeah, let's use horizontal. You already see in the preview how this will look. Let's add some padding to make it bigger. And oops, let's add some border. Give the border radius. So now I have this fancy button style. Okay. I need to get back to my form, and there we have now much more interesting button. Of course, I can also adjust the text, for example, and say the text should be really large, should be wide. Oops. So really nice options to style buttons, and not only buttons, but also function fields, for example. So you can use those styles really to create a much more appealing designs now with Ninox. Short excursus to buttons, and now going back to functions. Let me add just another table here, call it dynamic functions. And there we go. So I will put here two fields, this name, and I will put another field called last name. And then I will add some magic here. Maybe let's some space to separate it. And the first thing I want to do is to dynamically get the value of this first name. So there's a new function called get, and it needs as the first argument basically the pointer to the record we want to use or extract data from. And the second argument is the name of a field, so the name that's displayed on the screen. And I know my field is called, for example, first name. Yeah, so you see, normally I would just enter this here and I would immediately get the result Hans. Yeah, but now I will use a dynamic way to address this. It will look almost the same. So what's the difference here? Yeah, so I will show you the difference in a second, because I can now use another field. I will call it field name. And I will use this field name as the second parameter in my function. And when I change save now, yeah, okay, there was also a small glitch. This will be ironed out, I hope. So let me change this to first name. So what this function now does is it gets this string here, first name, and then looks up the value of the field called first name from this record. Yeah, so this is a very dynamic way to address things. In some situations, it can come in quite handy. And of course, you cannot only read values in that way, but you can also write values in that way. So let me illustrate that. I will first create a text field called new value. So just fiddling around with the layout here. So let's say the new value shall be Lisa. And now I want to assign that new value in a dynamic way to my first name field. So let's use again a button to achieve that. And on click of that button, I will use the function set in my current record, the current record. And then I want to set it to the field which is referenced from the field name. And I want to set the value, new value. Yeah, so I go to my current record, I look up my field name. So in that field name, we have the value first name. So I know I want to set first name of this record to the contents of new value. Okay, guys, let's try that out. I didn't try before. Boom, it works. Yeah. So of course, I can also do this now with last name. So let's say we want to assign last name a new value. And Tim, give me a good last name. Genkinger.
I would have suggested Böhmer, but also take Genkinger.
Okay, dokie. There we go. Yeah, so this is an extremely dynamic way to work with data. Please use it with care only if you really need it. But when you need it, then often it's the only way to do it, actually. Yeah, so can be quite useful. And then there's finally a function I also want to display. It's called field ID. So field ID gives you, oops, the internal ID of a field. You might know that if you work with Ninox APIs, there's always two options to work with API data. You can either reference by the name of the field, or you can reference by the internal ID of the field, but sometimes it's really hard to get the internal ID of the field. Yeah, so this function can help you. And so it also works in this dynamic way. And I will again use the field name to get the field ID. So I will get the field ID on this record from the field which is referenced in field name. And as you see, currently it's last name. It's the internal ID B. Let's call this internal ID. Oh, autocorrect comes into my way here. Internal ID. If I change that to test, it's undefined or it's empty because we don't have such field. But if I change it to first name, it should be A, because that's the way how Linux works with field IDs. It starts from A, goes to B, and so forth. So almost like Excel. Yeah, that's almost it. I think I'm at the end of my presentation, Tim. So do we have any questions from the audience?
I think a lot of. Thank you, Frank, for the presentation. I think we had a lot of clapping hands and hearts about the features and functions you showed already, and also a lot of questions. So back to the icons which you showed, there was a question if we will also add kind of like of user icons which you can configure by yourself or upload by yourself if something
Unfortunately,
like this is planned.
yeah, unfortunately not. We try to include here a vast range of icons. I hope that's sufficient for most use cases. So there's some technical reasons why it would not be so preferable to have kind of custom icons uploaded because we would lose lots of the flexibility. For example, as you can see here, we can change the weight of an icon. We can change it from filled to outline style. We can change the color. So there's already a lot of flexibility baked into the system, which makes it hard to kind of incorporate custom or user-defined icons.
Thank you very much. So then there's a question jumping to the rich text field. If there's kind of like of something needed from user side which needs to be adjusted, or if this will be done automatically. So is there a need
Mhm.
to kind of like of configure the new rich text field, or will this be automatically migrated to the new version?
This will be migrated automatically.
Perfect. Then a question regarding iPhones and iPad. I think you mentioned it in the beginning, but will the compatibility of mobile devices such as the iPhone and the
Yes,
iPad be also ensured?
yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Then let's stay at the rich text field. Will it be possible to copy and paste pictures into the new rich text editor?
Yes, I think that works. I did not prepare it for my presentation, but you can include images here and also resize them in the text editor.
Perfect. And then jumping to the fonts in the rich text field, I think you showed them shortly. Will there be
Mhm.
also other fonts available in future, uh, additional to sans serif and mono?
Yeah. So this will be the scope of the rich text editor as released with 3.13, but I think I heard the team already discussing about additional features we might come in with later in the process.
Perfect, thanks. Then there's a question about editing views for the future. There's the question if changes an admin makes are still persistent, even though he is not in admin view, instead of kind of like of having it at the editor where views are edited temporary only.
I think the current behavior is that views are persisted in admin mode, and this is also how it will stay.
Okay, perfect. Then a question regarding the remove file function. Does this work in server context?
Yes.
Perfect. Then the question regarding the renaming. Would it be also possible to rename the label of a field?
Unfortunately not.
Okay, thanks. So the next question, I don't know where it belongs to, so it's very hard for me to understand or bring it in context. I asked maybe you, Frank, no. Does this only work with buttons or also with other field types? I
I
think it's
guess it was
regarding
the styling
the
option.
style of
Yeah.
the button.
As far as I know, it's also working with formula fields. Let's try it out. So I can use an ordinary formula field, and something often used is making the kind of the name or the field label disappear with the hidden option. And then you can bring in your own style. This is not draggable. Yeah, just as the button XL, white color. I think I really like the gradient option for some reason. Add padding, make it real big. Add a border, border radius. So something like that is definitely possible.
Perfect. Thanks. Then coming back to the buttons, will there be also be in future or within this release the option to add icons to buttons?
To add icons to buttons, it's not yet built in.
Okay, maybe in
Let me put
future.
it that way. Yeah. So, I can see a future where we can add icons to buttons. Yes.
Yeah, then
Or
one question
am I
regard.
wrong? Is
Oh,
it already? Sorry, I just need to check. No, no, I think it's not yet incorporated. No.
okay, perfect. Then one question. I think one of our members missed it at the beginning. When will be the release date?
August 21.
Perfect. Then the question you showed the save functions for the colors for the icons. Is there also a save style function for the buttons or formula fields, which I can then reuse in future when I'm using it very often?
Yes, that's also planned for, but not yet included. Yeah, so this is the style dialog, almost like the colors and icons, of course, which have a much smaller scope in terms of configuration options. So those styles in the future will also be exportable, and there will be an option to manage favorites. Yes.
Perfect. Then there is one question regarding partnerships and Ninox Learning, which I think belongs not to the webinar, but you can just reach out to partner@ninox.com and then we can get into detail after the webinar, just give me a short message or directly to tim@ninox.com, and then I will take care of this request. Um, would it be an idea to show the field ID when you edit the field? The function is cool, but sometimes you just want to have the idea real quick.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Yeah, so we can pick this up.
Perfect. Then we had a question, can we save styles? That was already answered. Then a question regarding the icons. When will it be possible to print also the icons?
Yeah, it's not, unfortunately, not included in this release.
Perfect. Then there's a question regarding the changing of the sidebar. I think you showed it in the beginning that this is kind of like adjusted to the top bar and automatically changes.
Exactly, it nicely adapts to the primary color you can select here.
Perfect. Then there's a question regarding the search for icons and what is the best way to search for icons and if there's an overview with the icon names available.
Oh, to be completely open about this question, I'm not exactly sure if we have it already in our documentation, a complete overview of the icons. I can bring it to the content team, yeah. However, you can search for icons like, I think those are tagged in English language, yeah, but if you just search for star, for example, you will see icons that somehow relate to star.
Perfect. Thanks, Frank. Then I think that's a more technical questions regarding scripting. Can we now use the get value and set value functions to dynamically refer to fields inside of a for loop without having to rely on the switch slash do? For example, could the field name be based on an incrementing counter inside the loop?
If you know your field names or have some logic behind it, then you can use the set function in that way. Yeah, you can combine here in that option. This can be any expression. Yeah, it could be also something like yeah. So let's put it that way. So if I just then use so yeah, I also have to adapt it. Sorry, the assignment. I got so sorry, I just got confused. So if I just use so this composed argument, yeah, I take the value here and add a string to it, space name. So now I just entered here first, and it added name and got then the value of the first name field. Yeah, so you can use this in any way. Yeah, and definitely if you have counters on your field names, you can also use a for loop, for example, to construct field names. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Then will it be possible to also include the rich text field into the dynamic print layouts?
Yes. In the dynamic, there are limitations, or the same limitations we had with previous releases. In the normal print layout, we made a lot of optimizations so that there's a better match between the contents of the field and the actual print result.
Perfect. Thanks. Then there are kind of questions regarding the buttons. Will the internal buttons be harmonized? And are line graphics scalable now, for example, when showing only upper percents to not having so much empty room below a flat line?
Do you understand the question, Tim?
Not really. Maybe in other words, late, and then we can answer them later. if you're not getting it. Then back to the file function. Are they able to work over the API? So
Yes,
rename file, remove
they,
file.
they can be used in server-side scripts and client-side scripts and on the API.
Perfect. Could you name some experimental uses for the rich text field? We hardly use it in our database, but rather create documents with JSON function. So in my opinion, the rich text editor can be very good used for sending out emails with templates, stuff like that, writing emails. I think there it is very common used. I
Yeah,
don't know
that's a
if you
very
have
common
other use
case.
cases.
No, I think that's the most prominent I'm aware of. I've also seen maybe that's a little bit more experimental. Okay, let's do a rich text experiment. Um, yeah, let's just save this. So if you have a rich text editor, and call it your template, can do a little bit of your own templating mechanism, yeah. Hello, name. This is my newsletter. Keyboard is really letting me down today. So cheers. So I have a kind of a template layout for an, oh, you see, I did not have pressed the save button. This is still worked on, I know that. Hello name. This is my new news. Cheers. I use my name. So, okay, so this is my template layout. Of course, I can use all sorts of customizations and so on. And now I have maybe a list of recipients which have a name and an email and maybe their sons. It's at ninox.com and there's Lisa. Oops. So what I could use is I could this is really letting me down. What's up here, Tim?
I don't know.
Maybe it doesn't like my curlies. And then we add a button to send emails to those recipients. Yeah, then let's go through recipient in recipients. So I get my template, and then for each recipient, I basically get my HTML, and I will use the raw function, raw of the. This makes sure that basically Linux does not try to convert the HTML into a normal string, so stripping all the HTML elements, because I really want to have the HTML elements in my result. And now I will replace in my template the name with the actual recipient dot name. And then I could use the send email function to send it. I will not do that. I will just alert the HTML so that you see it on the screen. Yeah, so this may replace the hello name to hello Lisa, but if this would be a little bit better formatted, like the heading, this is my new newsletter, save. Where you would see, okay, this gives me some raw HTML string, but I can fiddle that into my send email function, which also accepts an HTML string. Yeah, so my recipient would then actually get a nicely formatted newsletter. Yeah, so this is, I think, a not too complicated technique to build email templating with standard Ninox mechanisms. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so one of the more exotic use cases I can come up with here.
Then there's a question, could also be tables put into the rich text field?
Yeah, I think it works when you copy and paste tables into the rich text field. We will preserve that structure, but we don't have a table editor here inside. Yeah, so that's kind of the caveat.
Perfect. Then you mentioned kind of like of this script editor or CLI tool, how you called it. We will be give an overview about it in the next weeks up to the release. So that was also a questions. I think this will also improve the code edit topic, which also popped up. And then back to the questions we had. The internal buttons are those for create tables, fields, especially the field formatting. Um, is there a question also that they will be harmonized, or will they stay like we see it here in the gray, white, or white written on gray background?
So this refers to the style to our Ninox own CI here, or what was the
Yeah,
question about?
exactly.
Yeah.
Or the edit fields, especially
Yeah.
down below. Yeah, that one's
Yeah. Yeah, so those things will stay as is for the moment.
okay. Thanks. Then there are some questions open. Is there a
But
visual
maybe
mouse? Oh,
a small detail, yeah. So if you look really carefully, so we kind of got rid of the bluish tonality or kind of color vibe of all the elements to make sure that the interface does not get into conflict with your style selections. Yeah, so there's a lot of detail work the design team did to make this happen. Yeah, just want to underline this is not just
yep,
replacing one color with another. It's much more behind the scenes.
perfect. Is there a visual mouse over effect for custom designed buttons?
A visual mouse over effect for custom design buttons? No, unfortunately not.
Okay,
I think I get the question. Yes. So no, there is no highlight style. You cannot define a highlight style here, unfortunately.
perfect. Then is it possible to get the formatted text from rich text in a Linux print view of type Word?
Yeah, that question I think we already had. So it's the
Okay,
same as it is with the current release. So no improvements on that side.
too much questions. So last questions. I think the questions now are more yeah directed to the future. First questions: will it give in future popping or up popping field to insert data?
Can you come up
So
with an idea
when
or
we
example? Yeah.
so if you have a pop-up record
Yeah.
today and that you can type in the
Okay.
answer directly into the pop-up record
Yeah.
if something like this is planned.
Yeah. Yeah, let me put it that way. We know that this limitation, so generally popovers, pop-ups, and so on, nothing that is exceptionally well supported by Linux UI building capabilities. but it will also not be supported anytime soon. Yeah, so at least not with the next releases this year.
Perfect. And then we have two questions regarding kind of like of the upcoming timeline, the planned features in future. Is there something you could give an insight in? And I think that's also the last
I,
questions of the webinar. So maybe there
yeah,
are some
I,
outviews.
Yeah, I think at the moment we are really focused on getting this year over the line. I think it's already a big improvement. Of course, we have plans for later this year. There will be yet another release coming up in yeah. Let's see when. Yeah, let's first get no. So what would be the schedule? August, September, October, in November, or latest early December. So. There will be another release. Obviously, we will work on the current features and refine them. And um, yeah, I guess that's all I can say at the moment.
Perfect. Then that's all questions we had. Then thanks, Frank, very much for the presentation. I'm really looking forward to this release. Thanks for being here in the webinar. Great views over the new Linux version, and hope you'll enjoy all the new Linux version. Looking forward to it, and then have a nice day, evening up to where you are, and bye bye.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for attending and for the positive feedback.
Ninox.